Liberals are full steam ahead with fake news this week after Tuesday night's whatever that was. Now they're accusing President Donald Trump of refusing to denounce white supremacists because apparently it takes too much energy to come up with a new lie. Now, besides being factually untrue, this strikes me as a little bit funny because the last time I checked, it wasn't a bunch of hood-wearing bigots carrying white power signs who were burning down Minneapolis and Louisville and Portland and Seattle and Chicago and DC. Let's take a look back, shall we? We'll call this 2020. A dumpster fire in review. Now, of course, Trump did not refuse to denounce white supremacists Tuesday night. In fact, he told Fox News' Chris Wallace that sure, he'd do that. Of course, you might not have heard him, what with both Wallace and Joe Biden screaming at him and all, but he said it. Here's that video.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared
to
specifically
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Now, I don't know about where you come from, but for me, sure, I'd be willing to do that isn't a refusal. Just like all the other times he's denounced white supremacists in the past that keep getting conveniently ignored.
What are your views on the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacists?
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
But hey, gotta keep hammering that narrative, right? Of course, the question itself, though, implies that there are a whole bunch of violent neo-Nazis running around causing panic and mayhem. So much so that the President of the United States needs to take his time to emphatically disavow them repeatedly. So I can only assume what they're talking about is this.
Hey, hey, hey! No! No!
See? Told you. Dumpster fire. And that was just the tiniest fraction of the videos of these lunatics who are currently tearing up our country. Now, I know some of the clips are dark and most of these fools are wearing masks like a bunch of LARPers at a Dungeons & Dragons in the park, but seriously, anyone see any white supremacists in the mix? Where's the line of Hitler fans charging the police with baseball bats? I don't see any U-Hauls pulling up with boxes full of white hoods and flammable crosses. You? Please raise your hand if you're a business owner in any of these cities and a skinhead with a swastika tattoo looted your store and left you bleeding in the street. I'd like to hear from you, because I haven't seen one. In fact, the only people I've seen who've been labeled white supremacists are the few folks who've showed up armed because the mayors of these fetid, rotten cesspools are too busy cowering in their mansions surrounded by cops and leaving innocent store owners to fend for themselves against the violent mob. But somehow, Donald Trump is supposed to condemn the country's like 14 neo-Nazis, who, as awful as they may be, aren't actually responsible for any of this crap. Meanwhile, over in Ambien land, Joe Biden isn't ever asked to disavow Black Lives Matter or Antifa, the ones who've been looting and burning and beating and murdering, and that's totally okay because, oh, Joe says Antifa are an idea, not an organization.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not militia.
Last time I checked, ideas don't take over entire city blocks of Seattle and assault business owners who don't give them cash. An idea doesn't throw Molotov cocktails and beer bottles at the cops and light federal courthouses on fire and burn down entire car dealerships. When was the last time you watched an idea jump on the hood of someone's vehicle and try to yank them out of the driver's seat in the middle of an intersection? And for that matter, when was the last time you saw a neo-Nazi do it? And by the by, if all of this insanity is being caused by white supremacists, why was Kamala Harris sending money to bail them out of jail? Why have the media kept ignoring the violence? Why does CNN keep calling it mostly peaceful? That's an awful lot of cover to provide for a bunch of white supremacists, guys. You would think if a bunch of skinheads had taken over our cities, you would have been paying a little bit more attention. But you're not. Because it's not white supremacists who've left our cities in ashes and people bleeding in the street. Liberals have. The left have shown themselves to be exactly what they are, a bunch of radical, violent, hateful Marxists who hate this country and any decent person living in it. But it's election time. So now they've got to create a fictitious boogeyman to pin all this destruction on so it doesn't come back to bite them in the butt at the polls. And the imaginary enemy is always the same. Some invisible white racists who are really the ones causing all the problems. And you know, the only thing that Donald Trump should denounce is that pathetic, bald-faced, laughably transparent lie. And that's your Reality Check, America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter. Stay sane out there.